Hello everyone, this is Suneve, and I'm coming to you with Experiment, a Jeff the Killer X-Reader by The Perfect Blur. We're going to be starting off with Chapter 49, Reader's POV. You! The nurse doesn't get time to finish her sentence as I grab her name tag, using the corner of the plastic to slice across her throat. She gargles, stumbling backwards as her hands clamp around her neck, soaking in blood as she tries to stop the bleeding, gasping for air. She falls to the floor, landing on her back, blood sputtering out of her mouth as she gags. I raise up off the bed, walking over to her and standing over her body, looking her straight in the eye, so the last thing she sees is my revengeful gaze. Dr. Manning, what on earth are you doing? A nurse shrieks as she walks into the room, watching as the doctor roughly tries to restrain me as I thrash and scream, refusing to be tied down to the bed. Nurse, give me a hand, grab her arms, and hold her down. The nurse shakes her head, grabbing the doctor's arm. Doctor, this isn't right. You shouldn't treat patients like that. Nurse, unless you wish to lose your job on that little love affair with the pharmacist, I suggest you help me. The nurse gasps with wide eyes, letting go of his arm and backing away, lowering her head with a sigh before nodding. Yes, Dr. Manning. She wipes away a small tear from her cheek and, walking around to my side and grabbing my shoulders and forcing me down against the bed. One down, I mumble to myself as I make my way to the door, peeking out into the hallways, which were luckily empty. Before I had burst into the hospital, I heard the nurse talking about Dr. Manning going to the ICU, so I just needed to find out where the ICU unit is. Where the hell are you, Jeff? I whispered to myself as I tiptoed down the hallway. Although it didn't take me long to reach the reception area, crouching down on my knees so the receptionist couldn't see me over the desk. I slowly crawl forward, poking my head around to see if I could spot Jeff. Come on, where are you? Just then, a security guard walks through the hospital doors, causing me to quickly back up, but something was off. The guard kept his head down so no one could see his face, and his cap blocking any possible front view. Looking closer, I see his eyes shift in my direction before a long, cheeky smile spreads across his face. This was no security guard, it was Jeff. I watch as he makes his way down the hall, his hand lowering to his side behind his back, his fingers signaling to follow. Quickly crawling along the floor, I wait until I was out of sight of the receptionist before standing to my feet and running on to catch up with Jeff. When I do, I don't stop running. I leap forward and wrap my arms around his waist from behind him, hugging him. What are you doing? This isn't over yet, he groans, trying to remove my arms from around him. I couldn't help but giggle, letting go and standing beside him and looking up at him. What? He scoffs, noticing my gaze as I stare at him, smiling. You look pretty good in a uniform. I wink, nudging him with my elbow. Ugh. He rolls his eyes along with an annoyed grunt, picking up the pace so he walked in front. I trot a little to keep up with him, making our way to the ICU unit. Chapter 50. We finally get to the ICU. It took longer than we had thought, mainly because we had to keep stopping and hiding in closets in order not to be spotted by rushing nurses. I'll admit, hiding in a dark space cramped up against Jeff, it made me feel so hot and flustered, and I really hope he didn't notice. Once the ICU comes into view, we first play it safe and peek through a window before entering. But as we look in, we find that it was empty, and not even a patient. What? I mumble as we slowly creep inside, looking around the room. It looked like it hadn't been used for a while, and all the beds were neatly pulled tight. It can't be this room. Are you sure you heard the nurse say ICU? Hello? Hey, can you hear me? A voice suddenly speaks through a small air vent in the wall. Crawling towards it as I calm my sobs, I lower down, trying to look through it to see if I could see to the other side. Hello? Is there someone there? The voice speaks again. It sounded like a girl similar to my age. Hi, yes, I'm here. I'm YN. You're there? Nice to meet you. I'm Sakura. Me and the girl named Sakura talked together for what seemed like hours. I told her about myself and why I was here, but whenever I asked about her, she wouldn't answer or would say she doesn't know. Apparently she can't even remember how she got here or how long she's been here. He called me his subject. What does that mean? It means they'll experiment on you, YN. I don't remember much of why I'm here, but don't let them take you to the ICU. Why not? I don't know. It feels like it's a bad place in my mind. My mind flashes back to that first time I ever spoke to Sakura, but why did my mind flash to that? What does it mean? No, get off of me. No more, please. You don't have a choice. No, I'm not going in. How do you do it? Get off of me. I told you I don't know. You don't have a choice. Voices speak over and over in my head, some of which was my own voice playing on a loop. I remember that day. That was the day I lost sight in my left eye. I gasp in realization, snapping my head in Jeff's direction, causing him to give me a confused look. I know where it is. Running to the door, Jeff suddenly stops me, grabbing my shoulder. Wait, you know where what is? The other ICU. It's not an intensive care unit. It's a torturing unit. Jeff signs, knowing what that meant and remembering what I had been through. He gives a nod, opening the door and peeking his head out the room. Seeing that the hallways were clear, he steps out, signaling me for to follow. Allowing me to give him directions of where to go, he refused to let me lead the way in case he ran into trouble. Although it started to become harder to give directions, I knew where the ICU was, but only when coming from my room. So I decided to direct Jeff to my old room first and then go from there. Hey, Jeff, wait up a second. I tell him to stop once my room comes into view, but it wasn't my room I was focusing on, it was Sakura's. I never fully understood what had happened to her or even who she was, and I go up to her door feeling the gap where her number should be. What is it? Jeff asks as he stands beside me. Looking the door up and down before glancing to me, I couldn't help but sigh. You know, when I first came to the mansion, I said my name was Sakura. Well, the real Sakura lived in here. The first day I arrived, she spoke to me through an air vent. She watched over me, warning me of things, making me smile, making me laugh, and she was my best friend. The only thing that kept me sane. Then, one day, I was taken out of my room for an experiment when they dragged me past her door. She had no number, and her door was covered in yellow police tape, and I didn't understand at first, but I also forgot the fact that when I first came here, her door already had that tape. I just never put two and two together. I was in such a shock. I managed to get in her room just before I broke out of this place, and her room was dark and cold, smelling of rot and decay, and her body just laid there on the bed, rotting away. I checked the file on the bed just to be sure, but it was her, Sakura. I managed to glance the birth date and death date before I left. I paused, turning to face Jeff as a tear slowly rolls down my face, my voice becoming shaky as my body urges the need to cry. She was born in 1989 and died in 1996. She was 7 years old, the same age I was when I first came here. Her body had been here all that time, decaying away alone, and I was talking to the ghost of a girl who died when she was just 7 years old. Her spirit, or her soul, I couldn't even remember who she was, why she was there, and how she even got there. She never got to live her life. And now her spirit is trapped in that room, and she can never be free. I instantly break down into tears, slumping down against the door, sliding to the floor as I bring my knees to my chest, crying against my arms. I didn't care at this point if we got spotted by anyone. Jeff crouches down, placing his hand on my head, smoothing my hair, and I raise my head to which his hand moves down to cradle my cheek. Wyan, she may not be free, but you are. You need to finish this and survive and live a free life. Isn't that what Sakura would have wanted? I couldn't help but smile as I sniff and sob, using my hand to wipe away the tears. You're a real softie, aren't you? I chuckle a little, my voice croaky after my crying episode, and Jeff huffs, standing to his feet, extending his arm to help me stand. Now let's go kill these fuckers. Chapter 51. Dr. Manning's POV. Stop squirming. I snap angrily as I desperately try to hold down the patient. The nurse had told me of a cardiac arrest in the ICU, but her and I both know that wasn't true. You were trying to escape, and that is not allowed. I grin as I tighten the straps harshly on their wrists and ankles, pulling in so tight their skin scrunches and eventually breaks, bleeding into the restraints to which they whine in pain. Now, to ensure you don't try to escape again, let's try something new. I grinned devilishly as I trot over to the surgical table, pulling it over to the bed the patient was laid upon, picking up a long, sharp nail and holding it in front of their face. If you're going to keep removing your restraints, I'll hammer nails through your hands to keep you down, and for your legs, I have extra long nails that'll go through your entire ankle. I laugh like an excited child as I put down the first nail, lifting up the longer one for the legs. No, please don't, I'm begging. Oh, hush now. No talking. Don't waste your voice. You're going to need that for your screaming. I laugh hysterically, lowering the nail down to their ankle, grabbing the hammer and holding it over their nail's head. Ready? I'll count to 3. No, please. 1, 2. I slam the hammer against the nail after counting to 2, watching as the nail drives through the ankle, pitting into the table below, protruding through the muscle and bone. Blood pouring from beneath the wound, the patient's screams echo around the room. Whistling a simple tune, I grab the other nail, walking over to the other leg and preparing to strike again. But just as I was about to do so, the entire room turns pitch black as all the lights shut off, leaving me in complete darkness. Ugh, I can't work like this. I groan, placing the nail and hammer down, slowly trying to make my way to find a light switch. Stretching my hands out, feeling along a wall to find the switches. Ah, here you are. Just as I go to turn the lights back on, something hard is suddenly struck at the back of my head, causing me to fall to the floor with a thump. I try to crawl away, but I'm struck once more, causing me to fall unconscious. Reader's POV. After Jeff made sure the doctor was fully unconscious, I ran to the patient strapped to the bed. They lay there in agony, groaning and gasping and breathing sharply and heavily as a nail protrudes their ankle. Please help me, please. Get me out of here, please. They cry and their eyes switch from looking at me to looking down at their leg. Oh, okay, just hold still. I'm gonna get you out of this. My hand shakily reaches for the nail, latching my fingers around the head. The patient winces a little as I accidentally push the nail as I grab it. I'm going to pull it out fast. Are you ready? Yes, just do it. They sob, closing their eyes tight, grinding their teeth as they wait for the pain. You do know if you let them live, they'll want to help with the revenge of the doctor, don't you? Jeff whispers quietly in my ear as he drags Dr. Manning by his feet, strapping him to the bed. He was right. If this patient was to receive just torture from the doctor, which it appears they have, judging by the scars, they would want to take part, and I couldn't allow that. It took me a while to accept the fact that Jeff was helping and I can't have anyone else interfering. Taking a deep breath, I grab a scalpel from the nearby surgical table that contained the other nails, walking over to the patient's neck. I'm so sorry. I sighed, at which they opened their eyes wide with shock, but just before they could speak in their defense, and plead me not to, I sliced the blade across their throat. A tear slowly dribbles down my cheek as I watch them gargle and sputter as blood gushes from their neck. Didn't think you'd actually kill them. Jeff chuckles with amusement, causing me to grunt with agitation. That is the end of those few chapters. The chapter after that one is chapter 52. Let me know what you guys think, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye bye!